when Anelka was a part of that squad, he missed an open chance, and he was so lazy on the field. So after the game, Patrick Vieira slapped him with his dick.
And with that, we have the perfect intro to our show. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Football a la Turca. My name is Kaan Bijzet, and I'm joined once again by Umut Nadri and Jakub Marvol. And we're back after a long time to recap the 2020-2021 season. And that's what we're going to do. And you just heard a fantastic story from Umut.
No!
Yeah, you totally did. I caught him by surprise. He did not know I was recording. But yeah. It's a great little.
Now everybody knows the true face of Umut.
Now everyone knows what Umut is doing in his spare time. So how are you guys doing, Umut? What's up? Any other stories apart from Patrick Vieira's genitalia?
No. That's
all he can think about.
Focus.
What about you, Jakub? What's going on with you?
I'm good. I'm living as far as much as I can, and I don't have a lot to complain about, so it's good.
That's always good. Well, let's talk a little bit about football then. Let's relieve the pressure a little from our daily the daily grind, and let's talk a little bit about this past season, which was absolutely crazy. I think we can all agree on that. Our predictions did come true. Our last episode, I asked you guys who's going to win the league. You all said Beşiktash, and it ended up happening, but I don't think quite as we had imagined, right? Jakub, let's start with you. What's your thoughts on the grand finale of the season that we just witnessed the last couple of weeks that we watched unfold?
Well, as a neutral fan, as a fan that didn't really have anything, at stake. It was really fun to watch. It was good to see how Fenerbahçe bounced back after they fired Erol Bulut, and it felt like the team, finally clicked for the couple of games that I watched. It was frustrating as I'm kind of partial to Beşiktaş, as always have been, because a good friend of mine is for Beşiktaş. So I was deep inside, I was rooting that they won. And it was so infuriating to watch the games where it felt like every week somebody new got injured, and some of the new, starting 11 players dropped off, and it was kind of nerve-wracking. So I think it was for you. It was really scary, and of course the Fatih Terim effect. How even though I hate the guy with a passion, you can never count him out. And how it really felt watching the last game against Beşiktaş against Göztepe, that it felt like this is just, they are going to let it slip away because Fatih Terim is probably mentally more strong than Sergen, but you guys did it, so you should be really happy.
And what about you, Umut? Did you think it would go? You know what? Before I let you speak, there's something I saw like a couple of months ago. There was this expected points prediction that was growing around in one of my WhatsApp groups, and it predicted exactly how this would end.
There is like a big company that always predicts.
Yeah.
How the games, how the league will end, and they were just like on point when it came to Turkey.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is really scary.
They had Beşiktaş and Galatasaray on 84 points, and they had Galatasaray on -2 goal differential, and that's exactly what happened because Galatasaray needed 2. Well, it was -1, but Galatasaray still needed an extra goal to overtake Beşiktaş because Beşiktaş had. I don't know if it was based on the fact that Beşiktaş had 10 goals scored more, or that it was based on the fact that Beşiktaş scored an away goal in their head-to-head. But regardless, like Galatasaray still needed 2 goals, so that's really scary. And I'm not 100% sure if they got Fener's points right. I think they might have had them at 79 instead of 82. But it's still like the fact that they predicted it is pretty crazy. But like when we last spoke, it was, I think that was like right after, what, that was during the international break or right after the international break or something. I think still before the wave of injuries Beşiktaş got. I think was it before they sacked Erol? Before Fenerbahçe sacked Erol, still, I think, as well. So, did you see it unfolding the way it did? Did you think Galatasaray would actually still come back and get so close?
The way I thought it would happen was the midway through the second half of the season, I resembled the league to the 2003 season, and I thought the thing will get untied in the Beşiktaş Galatasaray game at the end, and this time it will be a similar example of Sergen attı şampiyonluk geldi incident, where Sergen Yalçın will beat Fatih Terim and lift the title in Türk Telekom Arena, but it didn't happen that way. Like in a different manner, that game also made us get into the championship race once again, and lift whole Galatasaray hopes up again, and give us a little bit of hope until the final minute of the season. But it didn't happen for us. But congratulations to the Beşiktaş and their fans for lifting the trophy, because even though I would say Galatasaray dealt with some problems throughout the whole season, Beşiktaş deserved it by the way they played it, and they have to deal similar problems during the season as well. So I guess it was that way.
He's baiting me right now by calling them similar. I mean, yeah, you know,
I will get into that.
No, but Galatasaray definitely had their fair share of issues, but I think the quote unquote luxury that Galatasaray had is that they did come at a certain point. They had a lot of injuries at the same time, but they were still kind of spread, and they still had squad depth enough to fill it up. For Beşiktaş, it all came at the same moment exactly, and it's like it was like a perfect storm where suddenly it seemed like the entire offensive line was injured. Like I counted it, and Beşiktaş have 10 offensive players, and after the international break, 4 of those were like full-time out injured, and then you also had Gökhan Töre and Kudu, who basically played the last stretch, like I don't know, like last 6 games or something, like basically injured, and having to, like, against Galatasaray, that match, both Gökhan and Nkudu were on the pitch, but both of them were not match fit. They both had to, you know, play half injured basically, and Beşiktaş didn't have a single offensive sub on the bench. Like their most offensive sub was a left back, Ridvan, or Necip, defensive midfielder. Like they legit didn't have a single offensive option on the bench. Like I can't remember ever really seeing that before. Like it felt so extreme. And even the week after, like the match after against Fatih Karagümrük, they did. Mensah came back from injury, and they had him on the bench. And that's, I guess that counts a little bit as an offensive sub. But again, like, you know, they were so cut down, and it's not just, you know, a player being injured and all that, but like also the player that was injured, like Abubakar, was so important for Beşiktaş the first 25 matches or 30 matches. You know, really influential. He was at that point, I would say, together with Gezal, but even a little bit ahead on Gezal, I would say the most important player in terms of his share in the title. But then as soon as Abubakar got injured and basically missed the rest of the season, except for 28 or so minutes against Sivasspor, Gezal really stepped up and even took it to a whole other level. And he, for me, undoubtedly man of the season for Beşiktaş. Just nobody that even comes close. Like Abubakar, if he would have stayed healthy, he would have gotten close. But the way it unfolded, Gezal, yeah, really like almost a Mario Gomez-like season for him. And yeah, it's just a really, really strange season. I think for Beşiktaş fans, it probably would have been nicer if they would have run away with it. But at the same time, the finale we saw was so, like, for me personally, it was just stress. Just, I was dying from stress. Like, I've never felt that ridiculous. Because I now know how Fenerbahçe fans feel when they go into the final match day, leading the table, and basically being in a position of, we have to win. And then it doesn't happen, like, you know, how it happened for them twice already in history. I can start to understand Aziz Yıldırım's feelings those last weeks in the 2010-2011 season, and, you know, whether something happened or not. If something happened, I kind of understand why it did, because this is the most horrible feeling. I never want to have that again. I just want to, if I'd rather be completely out of the title race in match day 24 than ever have to experience this again, because this was absolutely horrendous. I mean, if you're at full strength, it's different, you know, because then you don't have to stress about that, and at least then, you know, at the end of the ride, you're like, you know what, we gave it our best shot and we lost. But if you're like this extreme in terms of injuries and all that, and then it just feels like we had it and it just got, like, the gods grip picked it away, you know what I mean? So that would have been extremely painful. That would have been a real trauma, and I can sympathize with Fenerbahçe fans a little bit now. Even though it didn't happen.
It does sound relatable, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand how... I mean, you guys had that last season, right? Where before the whole Corona thing... Yeah, like, you guys were... I mean, Galatasaray as well. Like, I don't know if... My feeling last season was Trabzon were going to win it, but Galatasaray were also firing on all cylinders, so that was going to be interesting. But Başakşehir, for me, wasn't even on my mind. Like, I didn't expect at all that they would win it. And you know, after the Corona break, so to speak, both Trabzon and Galatasaray looked so deflated and just couldn't pump themselves up anymore.
I mean, the thing, especially in Turkey, is that you have to win the mental battle. And Trabzonspor has shown countless times that when it comes, you know, when push comes to shove, they don't pull through. You know, it happened back in 2010, 2011. It happened last year where they start to lose points and start to look. The game. Last year it was the game against Alanya where we conceded in like the 92nd minute. In 2010, 2011, we drew against Kayserispor like 3-3, a game that we should have easily won. And, you know, those are the games that make a season. It doesn't matter if you win against your traditional opponents, against the Fenerbahçe, Galatasaray, Beşiktaş. The thing is, and when you're going for a championship, you have to win against those who everybody thinks about, like, you will win anyway, you know? Those are the games where a lot of teams and a lot of players get complacent. And I thought it a little bit when I watched Beşiktaş against Göztepe. I hadn't watched Beşiktaş in a long time, and to see them, it really felt to me like they were all in panic mode, because they scored one, they kind of calmed down, and the moment they conceded, it was just like a full-blown panic. And I switched back to Galatasaray, and Galatasaray just kept going and going and going and just piling up. And it was like, I truly believe that if Beşiktaş didn't get a penalty, Galatasaray will just, you know, they would never score. Beşiktaş would have never scored, because they just kept, you know, playing the ball to the wings. It's crossing them. Nobody's there. Try again. And you saw that it was kind of a little bit of a desperation move every time.
Yeah.
And Fatih Terim, on the other hand, I absolutely despise him, but he just kept his guys just going and going. And, you know, that's the difference between being being the champion and being a title candidate, is that, you know, you can have, but like 10,
it also
10
matters though
victories.
that they had no other choice. Like, like for Galatasaray, they were chasing, and when you're chasing, it's easier to play without pressure because you don't have anything to lose. Beşiktaş had everything to lose.
Yeah.
You know, because of the position they were in. And but I agree with you, because for me that was probably one of the worst games that Beşiktaş have played. Like, I against Fatih Karagümrük, the days like a couple days before that, I never got the sense that there was panic. Not even at 2-1. Like nah, that's not true. At 2-1, at 2-1 there was like this oh fuck moment. But it's like in that game, Karagümrük took the lead and all that, but Beşiktaş just kept playing their game, and that's basically what I was really impressed with, because after Beşiktaş dropped points against Ankaragücü in added time, like that's like what you said with the Kayseri game and all that. Those were the moments that you would expect. Oh, this is a mental blow. And Beşiktaş bounced back from that really well. And Beşiktaş have continued to do that in these last weeks. Up until these last 3 games, really, where, first the loss against Galatasaray, which, can happen. I mean, it's Galatasaray at the end of the day. You're away at Galatasaray. Some unfortunate things. The main thing there for me, because of the head-to-head, Beşiktaş had the good head-to-head. And then it's a little painful that they score a 3-1 just when you have such a ridiculous call by the linesman. Like 30 seconds after that, it was a little painful. And if that would have ended up costing us the title, I would have been livid. But that's the thing. Like, details tend to decide, championships. Just a second. But yeah. So, but up until that last match, I did not have the feeling that Beşiktaş were ever without inspiration or without any ideas. But in the game against Göztepe, they started well, scored after 10 minutes, and then it was just like, it's really weird because you take the lead and you would expect, okay, now we're just gonna try and keep the ball in the team and everything, and we just try and score another one and control the match. But they didn't. They just left the match completely to Göztepe. And in the second half, they did a lot better. But in the first half, after the 1-0, Göztepe dominated. In the second half, I honestly don't think Göztepe even managed to get the ball across the middle line, despite the fact that Beşiktaş wasn't creating anything really. But I agree with what you said, that if it wasn't for the fact that they won a penalty, I don't think they would have scored. Well, it was still, of course, there was still like 20 plus minutes on the clock, but it's one of those things, like, you can have an hour on the clock still. Like, once those nerves start setting in and you start playing desperation football, like, you can cross as many balls as you want, but you're probably not going to get that perfect one. And even if you do, then, I mean, even against Karagümrük, there was one of those moments at the end where Mensah on a corner got the ball and could have hit it in the goal, and you still get a chance, but, like, it would have been really difficult, like you say.
Oh, I'm sorry?
No, I'm just agreeing with you that it would have been extremely difficult for Beşiktaş to still find a goal if it wasn't for that penalty.
Yeah. Did you expect Sergen to get to be successful this quick? All in all, he had a 2-trophy season this quick with Beşiktaş, and I know there was a point where everybody looked at him thinking, like, if this is this the good decision? Is it the smart decision?
Well,
because I said multiple times, I'm not a fan of club legends coming back as managers, because they tend to ruin their view. The player, the fans tend to ruin the view of the player. Of the manager.
Yeah.
But
like Hagi at Galatasaray, like he was never successful as a coach, and it doesn't necessarily ruin the view, but it kind of besmirches the legacy a little bit.
Yeah.
I disagree about Hagi because, like, even though he wasn't as successful at Turkey, like, he's
successful in Romania, but that doesn't matter to Galatasaray fans, right? Like, to the majority of Galatasaray fans.
It matters to me, but, like, I don't know, the ignorant fans will say anything otherwise, but, like, building an academy in the lowest league division, Romania, then coming to the first division to compete to qualify for the Champions League, and even qualifying, then selling out their players to whole big teams in the Europe. Like, his son, Enes Hagi, first gone to Fiorentina, then now he's in Rangers.
And he didn't go to Fiorentina. He came back from Fiorentina to play with him, and then they sold him to Genk, and Genk sold him to Rangers.
He went to Fiorentina, came back, then went to Genk, then went to Rangers.
Yeah, but he went to Fiorentina, but he never played. Like Hagi wasn't in control yet. Was it Astra or what team is it called again? And you also need to look at the footballing landscape in Romania right now. Like the status quo was completely upset there, right? With Staw, basically, there's like really weird things happening with Staw, and just like that footballing landscape is completely on its head.
But saying that Hagi is not even successful as a manager or as a president, it doesn't fit to me.
That's not. I mean, that doesn't matter, right? You can be successful. If let's say Zinedine Zidane, let's say he is successful. He would not have been. He doesn't win 3 Champions Leagues or whatever it is with Real Madrid. He doesn't win anything with Real Madrid. He completely bombs as a coach, and then he goes to Juventus and does well. Like that does not change the perceptive, the how people
the view that Real Madrid
will
fans
say otherwise whenever something happens, like because it's really hard to break the prejudices of people or like how they think about because they.
But it's warranted though, right? Like I mean, like let's take Ertuğrul Sağlam as an example. At Bursaspor, he's a legend because he won them the title. But Beşiktaş, he's not because he didn't. He didn't really do anything. Like Rıza Çalınbay, same as a coach for Beşiktaş, didn't really manage to do anything. If you look what he's doing at Sivasspor right now, like I'm sure that at Sivasspor they perceive him, and I mean I personally rate him extremely highly and all that. But like,
similar things happen to great coaches as well. Vicente Del Bosque came here, Can Tigana came here, or like. Mancini came here.
Yeah, but that's not the same thing.
Came here.
Yeah, but they're not.
But the big difference is that a lot of people have either seen Hagi play or have seen Sergen play or Emre play, and they have a view of them being successful with the team. When you think about Galatasaray, Fenerbahçe, Beşiktaş, a Hagi, an Emre Belözoğlu, and an Sergen will come up as a positive thing, And what I meant was, generally when those people come back, they either do well or don't. But when they don't do well, people always, they have like a negative connotation about them, just because of that one season. It doesn't matter that they maybe were successful in other ways, but that's why I'm not generally a fan. I saw Trabzonspor had like 5 years where they sacked one manager and brought another ex player back, and it just never went okay. We had Shota, we had Hami, we had Tolunay, all those were but Unal did well. Hussein did well, but all those other players they didn't do well, and everybody, even though a lot of people still love them. It still brings like a sour taste to your mouth when you think about Tolunay or when you think about Hami,
most of the time it's like on one side the player thinks that he owes the club in their desperate times, like he has to help them. But on the other hand, he also wants to be successful. But sometimes it doesn't happen because when he gets in that situation when the club is in a crisis or whatsoever, like he couldn't find any other manager than him, he's there to help them in their desperate times, but the fans still expect him to lift a trophy or like being successful from him, regardless of the situation the club is in. So I don't believe that Hami or like Shota were like too bad in their situations, because Trabzon wasn't in their top form as a club when they came in. Not like how Beşiktaş were right now, like when they have Sergen.
Whoa! What? Sorry, you Beşiktaş in top form when Sergen came? What are you talking about?
No, like as a club, Trabzonspor is different. Most of the time they aren't like the title candidate. But like even though they're not the title candidates, the fans always want to see a success story from the ex players or ex managers.
Yeah, but
like,
I mean,
it's not the thing in Beşiktaş though. Like Beşiktaş is more of a title candidate compared to Trabzonspor. Like they're
It generally means.
yeah.
yeah, okay, but like, did you when Sergen? I mean, you both know my opinion on Sergen before he came. Like, I've been following his career as a coach very closely.
Yes.
I've watched him really closely. I have disagreed with people who said, "Oh, he just signs with the club and leaves after a few months, blah blah blah. He can't stick around anywhere." And I've disagreed with those people because they're just looking from the outside, like they just see it peripherally. They don't pay attention, and then they just make a judgment based on that. And I've disagreed with those people, and I have been of the opinion that he can be successful at Beşiktaş, but at the same time, I did not see Beşiktaş winning the title in the next couple of years. Like, for me, I've been telling my friends, guys, next 5 years, we're not going to win shit. It's just not going to happen. Just because of the financial situation the club is in, you know? I did not expect this whatsoever. What was I hoping for when Sergen came was good football. I got that last season. When Abdullah Avci was at the club, and it was not just that, it was also Corona and all that, but I lost interest. I lost so much interest. I just didn't want to watch anymore. It was depressing. And it's not because you're losing or dropping points all the time. It's just the football you're playing, which is absolutely horrendous, and just the feeling that you're watching your club that you love die. That's the feeling I had last season, especially on top of that with the Corona, no fans and all that stuff. And Beşiktaş and Sergen brought joy back for me, and that was the most important thing. Like, I did not care if we would play for the title. I did, like, starting the season, I had no expectations whatsoever that we were gonna play for the
Can
title.
I say something?
Yeah, go ahead, sir. Yeah, that's what we're here
Different from the case where, like, we mentioned Hami Mandralı or Tolunay Kafkas coming to Trabzonspor in a depressed moment of the club. Sergen came as a successful coach to be like promoted as a Beşiktaş manager to earn that place. He wasn't like asked to come here to solve an issue, like a club is in a bad position. Can you handle this? He earned that place.
Yeah, but
Unlike
he was.
Hami or like other ex-players of that club coming to the position, like how Hacı came to Galatasaray, or how Bülent Korkmaz come to Galatasaray at the time.
Yeah, but he did come in to solve a crisis.
Yeah, but he earned that place. Like both Hami or Bülent Korkmaz didn't do anything in their past management careers.
Yeah.
Something like Sergen.
Yeah. Well,
Because
actually, yeah.
they were never qualified as Sergen. Sergen did brilliant in his careers in Yeni Malatyaspor or Alanyaspor. He earned that place.
Yeah, I was actually likening him to what's his face? Yilmaz Vural, the new Yilmaz Vural. Like, Yilmaz Vural it feels like like, for in the previous, let's say not the last 5 years, but the previous 15 years or 20 years before that, it feels like every time when a club is in need of saving, they bring in Yilmaz Vural. And the last couple of years, I had the feeling that Sergen was kind of cast in that role. Like, oh, Gaziantep had it. Like, oh, we're in trouble, let's bring Sergen in instead of Yilmaz Vural. And that was kind of the role he was doing. But that, and at first, like, when I was initially, paying attention to Sergen and all that, like, initially it seemed that he was getting typecast a little bit in that. But then he got jobs at Alanyaspor and then after in Malatyaspor, and he put something down. He let them play really good football, which I really like. Especially the football he played with Alanyaspor. They were playing some of the best football in the league, if not the best. And that's something I really liked, and that's why I was really hopeful for Sergen, because I knew that he could do something with, not necessarily because Alanyaspor had a really good squad, but he could do something with a budget. Like, it's not because you're on a budget that you can't have a good squad. I mean, look at Beşiktaş this season. Like, this is a budget squad, but you can have good players in it. And that's why I was hopeful for him to at least do well. And then with do well, I don't mean challenge for the title, win the title, but like make it really difficult for Galatasaray, Fenerbahçe, and be a stubborn team, a difficult team to beat.
Yeah, and I think he did well, but the thing I had in the back of my mind is I spoke I spoke on Reddit with a Fenerbahçe fan a couple days ago, I think now, and we were talking about how Erol Bulut is now he's at Gaziantep, isn't he? He's
Yeah,
just
yeah,
signed
he
with
just
them.
got presented today, I think, actually, yeah.
Yeah, and he was talking about some other guy made a like a joke about how he is clearly better than clearly better than Emre Belözoğlu, and the Fenerbahçe fan defended Emre Belözoğlu and said that he was the better coach, and that kind of annoyed me because as I said, people tend to have like a romantic vision of ex players when they do well, and obviously Fenerbahçe was in need of a change with Erol Bulut,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a good decision looking back that maybe bringing a player like Emre Belözoğlu was just the change they needed, but to immediately declare a guy that
Yeah,
doesn't
that's
really have a
it's
UEFA
ridiculous. Yeah,
license and is just
yeah,
just coached the team for 10 games better than like
yeah.
a manager
I mean,
like Erol Bulut
better
is just
is a relative term, right? Because if you look at the fixture they had as well, like Fener had the easiest fixture. After they played Beşiktaş, like they had a pretty easy fixture. Like their hardest match was Sivasspor, I think, and Alanyaspor. That was their only two tests, and they failed them both. Like the other games they had, they played relegation team, and of course, like Beşiktaş dropped points against Ankara, so that's but those are teams that they should beat, like
yeah.
whether they are fighting relegation or not. Like these last 10 games that Emre was in charge, they had two tests and they failed both of them. So yeah, like it's a very small sample, and people are not really high on Emre right now, and I'm all for giving him next season and giving him the chance. I think that's probably the right decision for them to make. Also, if you look at the coaching landscape in Turkey right now, there's not really anyone that you can point to and say, "Oh, that makes sense." Like if they're gonna do something, it's gonna be a foreigner, and if it's gonna be a foreigner, it's 9 times out of 10 it's not gonna work out. Not because it's a foreigner, but just simply because of the difficulties working in Turkey right now. Like being, because Fenerbahce spends a lot of money still, but they do it on certain players. Like they have to get certain players, like Lemos, for example. I mean, the money that Ali Koç spent in the summer, like the legit money he spent, not the money that they report.
Yeah.
Like you should be able to put together a championship team with that. But he is forced to go after certain players that play for clubs that are willing to take money under the table and not report it officially. And not every club is willing to do that. And that's where the difficulties come. And that's, of course, the restrictions they have with financial fair play. Like, if there was no UEFA financial fair play and all that, Fenerbahce would, regardless of the 600-something million euros debt they have, Ali Koç would just be pumping money in the club, buying 15 million players and not making a big deal. I mean, then it wouldn't be a problem, because he would be paying it out of pocket. That's not allowed anymore. That's what he did with Moussa Sow, and I think he also helped out with Daniel Guiza and stuff like that, like over a decade ago. So he'd be doing that right now if he could, but he can't. And then you can bring in a Joachim Low and give him a really good squad, and he would probably win the title, with ease, because the other clubs can't compete with that. But because of the financial landscape of football right now and the way it's all structured, they can't really do that. So bringing in a foreign coach right now is a mistake, in my opinion. I think sticking with Emre Belözoğlu would make sense. But to declare, like you say, that Emre Belözoğlu is definitively a better coach than Erol Bulut, you can't say that after 10 matches. It's just impossible. Like, it's still a shock effect and all that going on at Fenerbahce, the players, and really all they needed was motivation and maybe the lineup to be changed a little bit,
Yeah, I think that it's obviously not as easy as Football Manager or anything. That managing a team and having all the issues with it, and keeping all the players happy and this and that. But I don't, I do think that Fenerbahce or Beşiktaş or Galatasaray as a team, and Trabzonspor maybe in a smaller context, are teams that should be able to play without a manager. They should have players of the quality that that could win easily, or
like Chelsea
without,
in 2012, basically when they won the Champions League. Like they coached themselves.
Just put them in. Yeah, you just put them in and they work. But to bring, maybe it's just me. I'm not a fan. I think that does Emre have a big future or bright future? Probably might have. He has all the resources to chart out his own future, and should be able to do as he pleases. But I don't think that a team as Fenerbahçe, that is so hungry for a trophy or a championship for years now, it's a smart decision. It isn't a smart decision to put in that much money and to give it to an inexperienced coach like Emre. I think that if coaches really,
but that's what they did with Erol as well, right? Because Erol wasn't really didn't really have that much experience. But that's, if you look at Ajax, for example, like they do that. They gave Frank de Boer, when he came from the youth team, they gave him the ropes, and that's what they tried at PSV with Mark van Bommel and all that. But that's like what a lot of clubs do that, and it works. But I guess those clubs, it's different because they're not under the same financial restraints and all that. But who would you bring in realistically if you were Fenerbahçe right now?
Yeah, that's a different. That's a hard choice because there isn't a lot. Probably coaches that seem promising at the moment are coaches like Çağdaş Atan. But even for a coach as him, I think that having an experience of 2 seasons or something in the Super League as a coach, it's too quick for a team of Fenerbahçe's stature. So it probably should have been or would have been a foreign coach. And I have honestly no idea who's at the moment. It kind of looks that maybe they might let Koeman go. So. Ali Koç can maybe make a big signing about him, but
but what happened last time they brought in a Dutch coach, right? Like,
but you can't compare Cocu against Koeman. Come on, we all know that.
He won trophies. At the end of the day, if you bring in Koeman and you don't give him the players, then what's gonna change?
Yeah,
I don't like. I don't think that Ali Koç does himself any favors either, because he puts so much pressure on winning the title because of all the transfers he brings in. Like, there's no patience. Like, when he first came, it was all about, we're going to invest in youth and all that, and we're going to, be professional and blah, and blah, and blah. And the first thing obviously these are rumors, but the first thing you hear as soon as the season is over is Fenerbahçe are talking with Lucas Biglia. Like what? Like, seriously? Don't you already have, first and foremost, enough players in the middle of the park? And then, don't you already have enough 35-year-olds?
Yeah, they're letting Sosa go.
It doesn't matter if they let they let Sosa go. They have a 2-year contract with Sosa. He's earning $3.5 million a year. You can't just let him go. You have to pay him off.
Yeah.
And even, I think Sosa played his best matches for Fenerbahçe these last couple of weeks with Emre.
Yeah, in the second half he was much better than the first half. He looked absolutely horrible the first couple of games.
Yeah, but Fener, this season, pressure was massive. Last season, pressure was massive for them to win the title. This season, it was even bigger. Because, all the signings they did last season, they got Vedat and all that. This season, even with Mesut. And, did he get... I think he got an assist, right?
He got one.
He got one assist, right? Against Papi Cissé's assist against Kayseri, I guess, on the last match day. So he played 10 matches or something and got one assist. Obviously, next season he could get 20 assists and 15 goals. It can all happen still. But, you put so much pressure on yourself, on the club, to win the title. Nothing else is good enough. If you bring these players, you need to win the title. If you bring Mesut Özil, you have to win the championship. It's the same thing with Galatasaray with Falcao. If you bring Falcao, you need to win the championship. Second place will never be good enough. You need to win the title. You put so much pressure on yourself. I don't understand why. Like, you can go for a guy like Pelkas instead. Look how good Pelkas did for Fenerbahce. Like, those types of signings make so much more sense, and it doesn't put unfair expectations on you from the fans, and you actually probably have a better chance of actually winning something because these guys are still hungry. I'm not saying that Mesut Özil isn't going to be hungry for a title with Fenerbahce. Obviously, he's a Fener fan and all that, and he's going to want to do well. But like all the other 30-something-year-olds they bring in, like. Yeah, and like, look at Samatta. He was a flop this season. They're forced to buy him. That's $6 million down the drain straight away. Like, that's already $6 million out of their budget for next season gone. So now they have to try and sell him. Yeah. Umut, anything to add here? Because we've been talking for a while. Mainly me.
Well, no. Well, I can just say, like, Fenerbahce had a bad transfer policy throughout a few years, because they considered how you say it, stealing other rivals players.
But they're still doing that, because Beşiktaş are really close to signing Salih Uçan right now, but Fenerbahce are still in talks with him. Like, they're trying to convince him to go to them. And why? Like, do they need another central midfielder? They just
seeing this as a success or an achievement as a club drove them into this way. Like, it's never a transfer policy to like handle issue like this. Like, you have to have your own scouting. You have own needs as a club. As a
you don't even need to scout. You don't even need to scout. Like, for the transfer. The type of transferring that Fenerbahce does, you barely need to scout, because all the players they sign are known players. Like, except for Salah.
Scouting, in this case, we don't see scouting as a like discovering an unknown player. Like, scouting means, like, in this case, we can call it like founding the needs of the squad. Just put a direct player in that spot.
How long was Alex? How long was he at Fenerbahce? He joined him in 2004. And he
7 years.
And he left in 2012.
No, 13.
13. So
14,
2004.
13 or 14.
Yeah. So let's say he was there 9 years.
Yeah.
He won 3 championships. It's in modern history the biggest Fenerbahce legend there is. Like, you can talk about Lefter and all that, but nobody who listens to podcasts, like, if you're listening to this and you're like, oh, Lefter was bigger, you never fucking watched Lefter, and don't tell me you did. So the biggest legend Fenerbahce have is Alex de Souza. He won 3 championships in almost a decade. Like, and the main reason, I was talking to my friends about this earlier, the main reason for that, in my opinion, and I think in Umut's opinion as well, is just because of their transfer policy, of their politics. Like, they focus more on what Beşiktaş and Galatasaray are doing than doing their own thing. Like, oh, Galatasaray want to sign Miroslav Stoch, let's swoop in. Oh, Beşiktaş want to sign Mehmet Topuz, who we already have Alex in that position for. Oh, let's spend 9 million euros.
Yeah, but like some kind of that transfer policy happened like in the earlier decades as well. Like how Rıdvan Dilmen went to Galatasaray at first, but then stolen by Fenerbahce. There's a picture of Rıdvan Dilmen
but things
with
like
Galatasaray jersey as well.
Yeah, but like Anderlecht used to do this all the time in Belgium back in the day. But they realized 20 years ago, you can't do that anymore. It's not sustainable. In today's football economy, it's not possible. Like, even Barcelona wouldn't be able to do that anymore. Like, you can't just go and pick up and if there's given the landscape in Turkish football, you can't be Fenerbahce and go and take all the good players from all the other clubs and just store them, basically. Not even because you need them. You can't do it. You can't kill the competition that way. It's not possible. You're only harming yourself. Fenerbahçe are in the financial position, the bad financial position they're in right now because of that. And the worst thing for them is they're still trying to do it. They are still trying to do it. And they're like, I cannot understand how such a big club, the most successful club in at least in Turkish football history, arguably, I know Umut will be arguing with that, but I don't understand how they haven't. They should know by now this is not the way, and they're still doing it. They haven't won a title in 8 years or something, and they are still doing the same mistakes they were doing. And this is turning into a Bash Fener podcast, but like...
That's what happens when Burak isn't
here.
Yeah,
that's what happens when Burak isn't here. Exactly. I mean, no, but like... I almost find it frustrating. Almost.
I think that a lot of decisions at Fenerbahçe are made, you know, emotionally. When you see your direct rivals, you know, when you see Galatasaray win championships back to back, you know, perform well in Europe that one season, and Beşiktaş, you know, win, then you get a little bit panicky, and you just need to do something to push yourself into the same contention, you know. And that's what happens when you then watch Beşiktaş and you see that Roger is playing well, and you're thinking, let me get that guy, even though I just, you know, bought a left back.
Yeah. Right
but
back.
I never played him. I played Caner Erkin like 900 minutes a game. Or when you see Abubakar, even though his knees are taped together with like scotch tape, you try to go for him, even though you bought like 3 strikers. Then it's easy, you know, because you can kind of convince yourself that a player that has been proven in the league might be the same for you, but it's just lazy. You know, I always complain about it. I have complained about it numerous times. I just think that, you know,
and
it's okay to look at your opponents in the league and maybe try to go for a player of theirs. But if you go for a player of theirs knowing full and well that you're probably not going to play him, what's the point? You know,
which are the, if we look at the last 20 years, which are the best transfers Fenerbahçe have made?
Alex, I think.
Van Hooijdonk.
I quite liked Hooijdonk.
Lugano.
Carlos was okay.
Yeah.
Kezman was horrible.
Yeah. Luciano.
Luciano was really good. Volkan, undoubtedly, was really good.
I mean, yeah.
David was okay.
Yeah. Mert Nobre,
I mean,
was good.
You know the thing with Fener is that you can you can take their best transfers, and it's almost always like the same 6 guys or something, because for the rest they have been quite mediocre for a team of their stature.
But
Tümer
was a good transfer. But that was that. You know what the difference is? Like Tümer was in a way to screw with Beşiktaş, but it was a player that they could actually use. And it was a really good quality player. So that was not a bad move. It's not. I'm not saying you can't go after former players from your right. Look, Beşiktaş this season, like Joseph de Souza, for example, like he was really important for Beşiktaş this season. And Gökhan and Caner the last couple of years had been important as well. Like you can of course go for players that played for your club in the past, but they have to fill a need. Like you say, like if you already have 4 strikers signed, maybe you shouldn't try to go for a 5th, you know? And like mainly like Irfan Can. Like, okay, is Irfan Can a bad signing? Of course not. But let's be honest, if Galatasaray didn't go for him in January, Fenerbahçe wouldn't have gone for him either.
No.
Like they would not have paid 8 or 10 or whatever it is they ended up paying for him. They wouldn't have. Like, the only reason they did it was to prevent Galatasaray from getting him. Fenerbahçe already had plenty of central midfielders. Now, I'm not saying that it's not... I mean, for me, it's a much better signing than most of the players they ended up signing for central mid. Because most of the players they ended up signing are in their 30s. Or already have signed or whatever. So Irfan Can is definitely a good signing, but... Like, it's all reactionary. Their transfer politics are reactionary. Like, even Ferdi Kadiolu. Like they went for him because Beşiktaş was going for him. And that was a good signing, but like, why aren't they giving him more opportunities? Like, this is a player that that could be really successful for them, could be a great player, and they could sell at a massive profit. But all he gets is some appearances from the bench.
Yeah, the talent is quite clearly there. He's like my favorite player at Fenerbahçe in a clear margin. He's so good, and I still would have wanted him to play for Trabzonspor or at least the Turkish national team. Come on, make a choice. But why? If you look at him, why should a player that is young and that's talented go to Fenerbahçe if you just can't play because you have like a 34-year-old, 35-year-old Sosa in front of you? You have a Gustavo. Okay, they are all great players, but at least loan them out or something, because it just doesn't make any sense. And obviously, this isn't only a Fenerbahçe problem. Every team does have it. Every big team tends to buy players that they just don't use after a while.
Yeah,
but
sure.
If it happens so many times that people will always point to your club as, oh, that's what they do, then it's just quite a big problem.
Yeah, like Tottenham and Inter Milan had that reputation in the past. And yeah, Fener definitely have it as well. And you can sign players, and if you give them chances and they don't make it, fine. But don't hoard talent and then not use it.
Yeah.
Like, you're just wasting careers. And I mean, I don't think any of the Turkish clubs are in positions where I don't think you, as a Fenerbahçe, as a Beşiktaş, as a Galatasaray, as a Trabzonspor, you can't really afford to sign a really talented player and who actually shows his talent on the pitch as well, and then just not pull the trigger. Like, you have to pull the trigger. You have to give some faith. Like, it's the same with Aydin Hasic at Beşiktaş, for example. Like, he was getting some opportunities, and then unfortunately he got a really bad knee injury. And really unfortunate, because he probably would have actually played a lot these last weeks. But, like, he was not getting a massive amount of opportunities either. But at least it was for him, it was his first season. I can understand, you gradually build that up. But Ferdi's been there for 2 years now. Like, he should, like, the things he showed last year, he should have been getting more minutes out of that. And he just isn't. Like, I don't see why he can't play when, when Pelkas and all that play. Like, Pelkas is a great player, don't get me wrong, but I think Ferdi is better in potential.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, like, Pelkas is another example, by the way, if I'm not mistaken, of a reactionary transfer kind of. Like, didn't he play against Beşiktaş in the Champions League qualifiers?
With PAOK, probably.
Yeah, I think they might have. But, like, one of the transfers I really like for Fenerbahçe this season is actually Zalai. He is really good, and he's one of those players that was completely, like, that was out of left field, had nothing to do with any of the rivals. It's just a great, solid transfer. Like, that's the type of players they should be going for. And I get you go for Sosa. He's been successful at Beşiktaş, did really well at Trabzonspor. I kind of understand it. And I get that you signed Filip Novak as well, given how good he was for Trabzon. But what I don't get is how you lure them away with ridiculous amounts of money. Like, that's just not, like, that's not possible anymore. You shouldn't be doing that anymore. Like, how do you ever expect, like, if Ali Koç leaves tomorrow, like, there's such a mess left behind, and then you have to get another billionaire to become president, because otherwise the club is fucked.
Yeah, Arjun is waiting, so they will always end
That
up
is true. That is true.
Istanbul has a lot of rich people ready to take over any club. So
I mean, you say that, but I didn't see anyone biting at the bits to take over from Fikret Oman when he left.
Yeah, but you know, if it they you know teams in Istanbul will always bounce back. There's no way they fall down and keep falling down. There's no way. Not in the current day.
People keep saying that, but one of these days is gonna happen. One of these days is gonna happen. But the same thing can be said about Trabzonspor, right? Like, you know, they are being kept up. Like, it's the same. Like those clubs, but the problem is that they get so much help that they just keep repeating the same pattern over and over and over. Like we've been doing this podcast for what, 2 years or something. I think we've said multiple times already, like, well, now it has to change. You can't sign Falcao's anymore now. And then Galatasaray go out and sign Falcao. And then in the summer, we're like, oh, you can't do this anymore. You can't make these bomba transfers anymore. And look what Fener did. They signed Mesut Özil. Like, it just keeps happening. And probably Beşiktaş will be the next with I don't know, Diego Forlan out of retirement or something. Yeah. You know, like, they just keep doing it. Like, and that's as a Beşiktaş fan, that's my biggest hope now, is that Ahmet Nur Çebi doesn't have this, oh, we're playing Champions League, we need to sign players for the Champions League. Because the thing is, what I don't understand is the Turkish mentality of, we're going to the Champions League, so we need to sign players for the Champions League. No, you don't. You don't do that, because next year might not be in the Champions League. What you need to do is use that Champions League and tell talented younger players, hey, you want to play Champions League football at a good level, and you want to showcase yourself, you want a good opportunity, come here. We have Champions League football. That's how you use Champions League. You don't use Champions League to bring Pepe. You don't use Champions League to bring Falcao. You don't use Champions League to bring these big names that these are over-the-hill players. Okay, Pepe is still amazing at Porto, but you know what I mean. Like, that's not the intention of that. You're not supposed to sign these players to do well in the Champions League. You're supposed to use the platform of the Champions League to attract good players that you can develop and then sell at a profit and become, you know, solvable, become financially healthy again, if that's even possible in the Turkish economy right now. Do you agree, Umut, or do you think you should keep signing Falcao's?
No, always was against this
yeah, I know
policy, and they do it because they're in a high demand from the fans. I just remember how Galatasaray fans were whining to the presidency about signing, because in one situation, Abdurrahim Albayrak just said that they're in talks with Falcao, and afterwards the fans were it was just blown up. The fans were demanding, sign us Falcao, Falcao, regardless of his age, regardless of how he formed, or how he's like performing in his former team, or like how his play style would fit to Galatasaray. Like, these were pretty irrelevant as soon as they mentioned the name of Falcao, and all the things went sideways after, because like they just don't learn from the mistakes from their rivals, like how Van Persie, or like how Diego Ribas, how I don't know Hugo Almeida, or like how Timao turned out.
I liked Hugo Almeida.
You like Hugo Almeida?
I liked him. Yeah, I liked him.
And like how, I don't know.
Biggest problem with him was he couldn't stay. If he got
Cardozo turned out like.
Well, Cardozo did well as well, but you know,
even like how good they perform, they don't compensate how much you pay for him. In advance.
Sometimes you know, Mario Gomez, but that's like a rarity. Yeah, it doesn't happen too often.
Mario Quaresma, Mario
Gomez. Like he's the one guy that you can say, okay, he did pay off. Like the money invested in him was worth it. You know, he was $3.5 million a year, but he got like a $3 million bonus for the championship or something. But I mean,
right. But if that player is an ideological player, like like like big-minded player like Haji or like how Mario Gomez or like I don't know
Talk about maybe?
Alex
Yeah.
kind
Yeah.
of players, they will compensate it as a big achievement to the club. How will they win the league or like
Yeah.
carry the team in a big spot in the European championships? Uh, I don't know. Like these are like legends, but they just come over to the team like one in a million. So
Yeah. It's
these are two rare occasions. So
yeah.
you have to like find them really, like you have to search for them. Like you just don't have to go with the minds of the fans because they don't have any scouting. They don't. They just tell their ideas about players just by how seeing from them from the compilations of YouTube videos or like from the news or like just searching through transfer market
Yeah.
statistics
Watching videos
regardless of
from a
how
play,
they play from the games.
yeah.
Like
And
I don't
how
know,
they
like
played 5 years ago, how many goals they
yeah,
scored 5 years ago. Yeah,
yeah, like
that's true.
this is and also like I don't know, the presidency sucks in Galatasaray and Fenerbahce as well. Like they don't have any ideologies on their own that they as the fans demand, they just do it. Like I don't know, like
Yeah, populism, But that's
yeah,
also, I think also, like as Jakub said, that Fenerbahce make emotional decisions when they make transfers, and I don't know if they necessarily make emotional decisions. I think it's just trying to cater to the fan base and do what the fan, because Fenerbahce fans love that Fenerbahce hijacks transfers. They love it. Like they don't. I'm sure there's Fenerbahce fans who see that that's a bad transfer policy, but like 90% of them, like the idiots on Twitter, no offense, if you feel that I'm talking to you, then you're probably an idiot. So that's actually, offense intended. If you don't feel like, I'm not talking about to all the Fenerbahce fans, I'm just talking to the idiots. And there's plenty of Beşiktaş and Galatasaray and Trabzonspor idiots as well. Like I'm just talking, about those people that like that stuff. And I mean, you can be a perfectly rational person and kind of get a kick out of it still. That's fine. But as long as you know in the back of your head that this is not how my club should be conducting transfers. This should not be their main driving force when looking at new players. As long as you realize that, it's fine. But if you're one of those people that are like, "Oh yeah, I'm so happy we signed player number 12 instead of Galatasaray just to fuck with them," then you're a fucking moron and then you don't understand the game. Sorry. But anyway, like I think that's just catering to those people. Like the vocal quote unquote minority, as they say, like the loudest people on social media and all that. The thing is though, like 15 years ago there wasn't any social media, so who were they catering to then? I guess just like I don't understand that. Like I get that this was a politic that actually worked in the 80s and to a certain extent in the 90s, but it's just in modern football, unless you're like Bayern Munich, and even Bayern, like they don't buy all the good players in the Bundesliga. They just buy the good ones they want and they need. Like they don't buy Robert Lewandowski to fuck with Dortmund. No, they buy Robert Lewandowski because they see in him a better version of Mario Gomez or Mario Mandzukic. They see an upgrade, so they take it. And they can, because they're Bayern Munich. But they don't sign just anyone, just to destabilize their competition. Like, if they sign someone, like Mario Götze, for example, they fully intend to utilize him. Now, Mario Götze didn't work out. That happens. But they didn't just sign him just to sign him. And that's the difference. And it can still work, but you need to be financially healthy for it to work. And that's just not the case in Turkish football. But let's get off that horse now. Unless you have something to add, guys. But, we rambled quite a bit about mainly Fenerbahce's transfer politics. But let's go to Trabzonspor. Let's, Jakub, let's get your thoughts on the season, how it went, how you think, were you happy ultimately with how the season has gone, and how are you looking towards next season?
Well, to say that I was happy is probably, yeah, it's kind of a double-edged sword. I think that what Trabzonspor achieved this year is kind of the maximum after such a horrible start. Um, I do still think that maybe Eddie Newton could have been better, but Abdullah is proving otherwise. With what he did, but the team was pretty mediocre at times, and as a former Abdullah team fan, that he brings a style of football to the team that isn't the best to watch. It's quite infuriating at times because you can pretty much bet your house, bet everything that a game will end 1-0 or 1-1 and maybe 2-0 or 2-1.
Mm-hmm.
Because
if he can implement his system, then at least. But that's the thing. Like, he tried it at Beşiktaş, he failed, gave up on it, and that's when I started getting depressed about him. Like, as long as he was trying to implement his vision, I was fine. Like, in fact, I really liked. We had this one half against Rizespor. I loved the way we were playing. But then it didn't work. The pressure got a little bit to him, and he just reverted back to Şenol Güneş ball with Quaresma crossing and Inshallah.
Yeah.
And then I started losing complete faith. Like,
I mean,
it was over for me.
He was quite good. He did what he had to do. He really reformed the team into a team that had confidence on the ball. We obviously were lucky that we were able to sign a player like Bakasetas for peanuts, considered as what he's worth, and him coming into the team he really changed the dynamic going forward. With how much of a threat he is for the opponents, he is able to, pass the ball easily. He's always in a good position to score, and that really helped open up our lacking attack. With all the players being injured and players like Benika Fobe coming in, having a pretty okay start, scoring 2 goals in a second game, and then just falling off a cliff. To having Giannini, just keep playing better and better, and seeing the confidence in him, in himself, just skyrocket with every game that he played. Okay, the team kind of started to find their own on the pitch. Obviously, we still have, our midfield is still not the best. I think there is still a lot of players to add. Lewis Baker I'm not his biggest fan. He never really convinced me that he was a good player. He did have he had 2 goals all season, and both of them were free kicks. He is a good free kick taker, but that's it. We signed players like Yunus Mallı. I think that Mallı has a lot of potential still. I think that when he did play, he did well. But you have to consider a player of his quality that hasn't played for so long. When he came over from Wolfsburg, it is kind of hoping that everything works out, and we see year in, year out, we see that it doesn't really always work out. Sports isn't a Hollywood story. More than it does work out, it doesn't. So I think for next year, I think that we do have potential. We still need a killer striker. Everybody is currently talking about Sørloth because news broke out that
everyone
that
and their
Red Bull
mother
want him gone. So every team, I have heard him being linked to all these Istanbul teams, and as far as I know, Trabzonspor still has first option on him when he comes back to Turkey. But I don't know if that is applicable to a loan or if it's only a buy option.
Yeah, I don't think anyone in Turkey is gonna buy him. I mean, how much did you guys end up selling him for? 20? I mean, obviously
20
split the money,
million,
but
and then split both ways. So we made like 10 million of him. But there are a couple names we have signed. Gervinho, I still don't. Why? The guy turns 20. The guy turns 35 in like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But he could be a player that that is just a step too big compared to Turkey.
It's fine to have like one or two players. Like two is already, I think, pushing it. But like, it's fine to have a guy like that on your team. Just don't have 4, 5, 6, like Fener do, And I mean, he could turn out to be the next Marcelinho and be a complete flop, but he could also still have a good season. Like, he's definitely a talented footballer.
I mean, currently I'm more worried about the financial side than I am of his his performance on the pitch. It is reported that he will earn around 1.5 million and like 500k in bonus, but then I heard about that he will earn like 2 million straight, and it's kind of
that's ridiculous,
nerve-wracking, because you tend to go back to the old ways that Trabzonspor was managed, and that's just throwing money at the problem and then just ignoring the bigger problem, the financial side. But I think that's our defending. I'm still going to stick with that opinion. I think that Trabzonspor still has the best defending duo in the league, and it has been such a breath of fresh air after a long while, after having such horrible defense, to see Edgar and Hugo play so well together and not make dumb mistakes every time. And we need like a good striker. Tronsen is back, but the question is how will he adapt to Trabzonspor after such a big injury. Flavio is probably going to leave. He hasn't featured a lot in Abdullah's squads. Abdülkadir Parmak has had a big issue with Avcı, where he didn't want to play when he was subbed in, so he might go. Trabzonspor does need like 5-6 players, but the question is how good will they be? Even our best player of the last couple of years, Vakayeme, he had a bit of an off season this year, and he still had like 7 goals and 7 assists. But we need him to perform better. He has started to slow down. I think it's
off season. He says he single-handedly beat us at Vodafone Park. Like, that was all Nwakayeme.
Yeah. Okay.
That's true.
He is still unbelievably dangerous. But you can, if you really do watch him play, you can see a little bit of a drop off. But it can be attributed to
he must
not
be,
having a proper striker.
How old is he now? Like 31.
He's 32.
32, yeah, we'll see. That's when it starts, for some people. I mean, you can be Atiba Hutchinson and be 56 years old and still be amazing.
Yeah.
But, it's true. But, I mean, Trabzonspor do have an exciting team if you look at it. Like, I really, like, I was interviewed yesterday for Euro 2020, and they asked me, like, who's going to be the big discovery coming out of the Turkish national team, and I said Uğurcan Çakır is going to be the big discovery. He's going to be the player from Turkey, because everyone, if you look at Turkish national team, like almost everyone plays in a top 5 league already, like from the starting 11. And people already know Ozan Tufan. Like, he's not playing in a top 5 league, but he's known already. But Uğurcan, I think, is going to be the big discovery, and I fully expect that he's going to leave this summer and make a big move. To probably League 1. But,
I mean, Aul already said that Uğurcan's out the door.
Yeah.
I'm happy about it.
He should as well, right? It's the perfect age. He's 25 years old. Yep. This is the perfect age for him to go. Like, and then for example, like Nice want Ersin, but for me, if I was Ersin, I'd stick around 1, maybe 2 more years. Like, I think 20 is. You can go, sure, but like, there's a difference between Zeki Çelik or even Yusuf, with all the respect, Yusuf Yazıcı going to Lille, and being the goalkeeper from a team that just won the title and going to the having the possibility to go to the Champions League next season. There's a difference there. I think if I was Ersin, for my, like, not just as a Beşiktaş fan, if I as Ersin, I would just stay 1 more year at least. Before, because I think you need to be established a little bit at least. if you're gonna make that move abroad, especially as a goalkeeper. Like as an outfield player, it's easier to get opportunities, but as a goalkeeper, it's a lot harder to get opportunities. And I think if you come in there with a title under your belt, a Champions League campaign under your belt, then it's going to be a lot easier for you to, also for your confidence in yourself and all that, to just, grab those gloves and be the goalkeeper for the next couple of years. But I think, like, even if I was Altay, like, I probably would stay another year as well in Turkey before making a move. But Uğurcan, I think he stayed the perfect amount of time, maybe even a year too long. He needs to go. And I think Trabzon can make a big amount of money on him, especially who has a good Euros. And yeah, but you have a guy in the pipeline already. You have the successor ready already. So that's...
Yeah, we have like 3 keepers.
Yeah, you have good goalkeepers ready. And you have a good defensive backline. I think you just need a good right back or something like that.
Which we got. We got Bruno Cesar from AS Roma.
Oh, Bruno Perez, right?
Bruno Perez,
Yeah.
He's also 32 years old.
Yeah. So, you have a good skeleton of the team. Like, you have Nakayeme, you have, I always forget his name. Ekuban, you have Bakasetas, you have Giannini, who's actually not a bad striker at all.
I really like him.
Yeah,
he's just not clinical in front of the goal, but he does a lot.
Yeah, exactly. He's one of those players that makes the players around him better. Like, he doesn't score the goals, but if you have someone else, like, he doesn't need to score goals if you have other players that score enough. And that's, I think, a little bit the issue at the moment. Like, Ekuban isn't a real goal scorer. Nakayeme scores goals easily. Bakasetas scores goals easily. I think if you have a third player to go around Giannini that scores easily, then you're probably set up. Like, if you would have like a Cengiz Under type or something, Yeah. But look, Trabzonspor have a very good skeleton of a team, and they could definitely have a good season next season. And then with Abdullah Avci, would expect them to have a good season, a stable season at least, and improve on this season. So yeah.
I hope so. We do need like a couple of defenders. With Hüseyin Türkmen being a suicide bomb, he's always tricky, and with Hosseini leaving, which I'm still mad about, but I can fully understand because there's almost no way he could play with Hugo and Edgar doing so well.
Yeah.
But there are talks about Steven Corker, but I don't believe it, to be honest. He will probably want a lot of money, and I think the bigger story is currently how good Abdülkadir Ömür will be. And talking about Abdülkadir Ömür, we can also talk a little bit about the national team and the preliminary squad that was chosen. And I had quite a little bit of thoughts about a couple of players that are being chosen. But how do you guys feel?
Umut, go ahead. You give your thoughts.
About what?
He was not listening.
The preliminary squad of the national team. The aday kadrosu.
Right now, I am just, unsure about the reserve goalkeepers like Gökhan Akkan being selected.
But he will. I think he will only end up taking 3 goalkeepers, right? So I would imagine Gökhan Akkan will drop off. Like I'm not sure. Like they're not gonna take 4 goalkeepers, right? Like
but like I don't know why he brought up taking Mert Günok, whereas he didn't find any chances on the
I agree.
After he came in.
Even with Okan, he was already out of the team. Like Volkan was the goalkeeper mainly.
And I know you're like really sure about like Ersin Destanoğlu taking place in a national team, but I believe it's still early for him to take his place right now. But he's still.
No. I never said that he should play. Like for me, it's.
You said like you want he should be in the squad.
Yeah,
though.
he should be in the squad. Why would he not be in the squad? He's like, when's the last time a 20-year-old goalkeeper, 19-year-old when he started the season, by the way, he only just turned 20. When's the last time a 20-year-old goalkeeper won the league in the Turkish Super League? When has it ever happened?
I don't know.
Never? Huh? I don't know. Like, I don't know either, man. Like, you'd have to go like 30, 40 years back or something, maybe. If you're lucky. I doubt it you find it. Like, I don't think it's ever happened.
Maybe Rüştü did, like in '96.
No.
I'm gonna search this, and I'm going to.
How
This
old
is
was
interesting.
Rüştü was not the first goalkeeper back then. It was what's his name? İpek? No.
Engin İpekoğlu.
Yeah, Engin was the first goalkeeper back then.
So Rüştü was born in '73. So he's 23.
23,
at the
yeah.
time.
Oh, well, actually, Rüştü might have been in goal already by then.
Yeah, like in that Trabzonspor game against Hami, he saved like that Hami's free kicks. He was already in goal, and that it was. I think it was the same season when Sergen Yalçın scored against him that
Yeah,
free
with the
kick.
free kick, yeah, 19.
Yeah, like he was on the team as a first keeper, but yeah, like I said, he's 23 at the time, not
Yeah.
19.
Yeah, no, like that's a big difference still. There's a big difference between being 19, 20 years old or 23, 24. Like there's a massive difference as a goalkeeper. As any player really.
But it's a rare occasion, but I still believe that he has to take his time, like not to be rushed, and he still has to
No,
play
but that's why you take him with you so he can have the experience of being there for a month in a big tournament.
He has the he should have has the experience, but at the same time he has to gain that match experience with his team. Like so, he has to be in that U19 team.
Yeah, but that's nowhere near the same thing though. Like
or under 21.
Yeah, but you could say the same. Why is Ridvan not going there?
Because the team needs a left back right now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for me,
but national team doesn't need a goalkeeper right now because Uğurcan and
obviously no.
qualified.
You have two goalkeepers that are ahead of him in the pecking order, and I 100% understand that. But for me, he should have been there. Like Mert, I know why Mert is there. I am not surprised one bit. I fully expected him to call up Mert because Şenol Güneş always shows loyalty to players that did something for him in the past.
And another thing I would consider is that we should have another number 9 as a forward apart from Burak Yılmaz, and we don't have one, and Muhammed Demir wasn't even considered. So I'm just curious about that case, and Adem Büyük wasn't mentioned as well. So
yeah, but Adem Büyük is 34 or something, man.
But he had a brilliant season, and he even changed it.
Look at how many penalties he scored.
No, I'm not talking about how many goals he scored. He played a brilliant season. Like in the team, he was a leader, and he was the main man on the field.
But Malatya did not have a particularly good season. Like they were, they had a great season. Like and the only reason I would say you have a point is because Cenk is injured, but
also I don't think Enes Ünal is anywhere near Burak's quality.
No, of course, like
so
nobody
Muhammed
is.
Demir should have been considered on this role, and we don't have anyone to be fair. And Halil Dervişoğlu is not that number 9. Like he's like a player plays back of the number 9, like Roberto Firmino or like Dennis Bergkamp kind of player.
But it's just that just goes to show you that how like that's the biggest problem area for Turkey going forward. Like Burak is almost 36. Like
he will be 36 in the competition.
Yeah, exactly. So they don't Turkey doesn't have anyone in the pipeline that's gonna be like for 2022 and 2024 going forward. Like Turkey doesn't have anyone in the pipeline striker wise, except for Enis from Altinorde. He could possibly be, but he's 19 or 18 years old right now. And he's Destan.
Enis Destan. Also, we could have taken who was that? Something Dursun from Bundesliga.
Yeah, Serdar Dursun from second Bundesliga. Yeah, he scored like 30 goals or 28 goals or something. Yeah, I mean, we could have, I suppose.
Şenol Güneş watched him, or like he probably watched him, but I don't.
The thing is, with someone like that, you really want to try him out in a couple of friendlies first, I would imagine. I guess. I mean, that's a missed opportunity.
He would think that Kenan Karaman would be eligible for that role. Even though I don't think he's a like number 9, like he is almost like a Larin.
Yeah. But the thing with Kenan Karaman is that he's proven himself at the national team already.
Yeah.
And he with Kenan Karaman, they know that he can handle that level, so to speak. Like, I'm not a big fan of him. Like, I mean, if Beşiktaş sell Kyle Larin tomorrow, I think he would be a great replacement because he's Turkish and he's a very similar type. And I don't rate Larin all that high as a pure talent wise. And then I think Kenan is the same. Like, he's not the most talented player, but he has Hır's commitments. Like he's fighting spirit. He has that, and that's something valuable as well. Like Olcay had that at Beşiktaş when Şenol was the coach as well. Like, and I think Şenol does like having a player like that, an inside forward. He likes to play with that type of player. So I completely understand that he went with Kenan. But then, like a guy like Serdar could have been like a Burak alternative potentially. But I mean, I've never seen him play. I can't really talk about it. And I'm sure Şenol or one of his assistants went to watch him. But it's maybe a little difficult to introduce this guy. But at the same time, he scored 28 goals. He should be incontournable.
Yeah.
I mean, especially with Cenk being out. Any other thoughts on the national team call-ups? What do you think of the omission of Caner, for example?
Me?
Yeah, you and Jakub, both of you. What do you guys think of that? That the fact that Caner Erkin did not get called up, because that's something that Fenerbahçe fans in particular were upset about.
Well, seeing him having that toxic personality, I believe it was a good decision for him to be absent from the squad, because, like, I don't believe he's a good example for the younger lads to be taking the example of. Like, he's not that guy to be seen, to be like taken as an idol or as a characteristic, or I don't know. His play style as well is like has been in a decline, and I don't know. A Turkish national team left back has to be like more dynamic and more creative, and Caner is really behind from his prime right now, and I don't know, like he can't handle tough opponents coming from his flank, and I don't know he will be like volunteering to chase down every single pacey winger, like running behind of him, overlapping wingers. So
yeah. Do you think that his performance against Latvia had something to do with Şenol Güneş's decision to not call him up for the Euros?
No. He played good because he was subbed in. He was getting subbed in as a left winger instead of a left back. Many of the times in the last games we have seen him, like he was just like brought in to like more creative manner to the upper field of the game instead of like a defensive manner how he plays in Fenerbahçe. So I believe it's a on-point decision from Şenol Güneş, because I don't believe Caner has the defensive ability to deal with the pacey wingers, dynamic wingers of the opponents he will face in this tournament.
And what about you, Jakub? Do you stand behind the decision not to take him? Would you have taken him but not played him? What do you think?
I mean, I was quite surprised. I actually expected him to choose Caner, but not. I don't think I don't think not choosing him because of his personality is a thing. Because the team is filled with grown up dudes, so I don't think like one psycho guy is going to ruin it. But I think that even though I kind of hate watching him play, and I think that currently his negatives are more than his positives. I think that his crossing ability and all the all the assists he got this year maybe could have been helpful in the Euros for some games. But when I look at the defense, I honestly don't know who we should go instead of. Maybe Rıdvan, because he's so young, but Rıdvan deserves it so much that I don't think that you can cut anyone that's in our defense because of the lack of ability. So I think that's okay. The biggest shock I had was that he pulled up Mahmut Tekdemir, who I don't get, and he didn't choose for Berat.
Yeah.
That's like, I don't get it, and that's not me going for Berat because he's playing at Trabzonspor. He just did so well this year, and he honestly does deserve it.
Yeah, and Mahmut has
the
declined significantly in the last couple of years.
And also, I believe it was a bad decision to take Tyler Antalya on his recent performances because he's been a decline recently. So I believe it would be better to take Salih Uçan to.
But those are but I mean Salih is even more offensive, and I don't know. But
you could have taken him instead of Dorukhan as well.
Yeah, but the thing with Dorukhan is Şenol Güneş has like that's one of his boys, and you know how Şenol Güneş is, and
always go for him.
That's why I was always also surprised he didn't call Caner, because he loved Caner at Beşiktaş. But Dorukhan, like at first I was like, why did he call him up? He doesn't even play for Beşiktaş right now. But then he is so versatile though. Like you can, if your left back or if your right back is injured, if you're like God forbid, like all our right backs are out injured, you can put Dorukhan there and he will put in a great game. Like when Beşiktaş missed Rozier, one match for suspension, Sergen put Dorukhan there and you didn't even notice Rozier was gone. And that's saying something. You can't just slot someone in and like he's a really good utility player. In fact, I prefer Dorukhan at right back than I do in central midfield. But Dorukhan, when he's played for the national team, he's always felt like it's kind of like Ozan before this season, because Ozan at Fenerbahçe before this season was kind of a flop. But Ozan for the national team is always good, and I kind of have the same feeling with Dorukhan, that Dorukhan at Beşiktaş, his first season under Şenol, he was good, but like after that, after his injury, I never felt that he was particularly impressive. Like especially when he was playing in central midfield, I always thought he was underwhelming. But then when you would see him play for Turkey, he in the Euro qualifiers he had like 2 assists in a game on Cenk or something, and like he played fantastic. And I get why he called him up. First and foremost, it's his boy, and second, he is a utility player, and you need those types of players in your squad just if something happens.
Talking about utility, I would just object to Halil Akbudar's decision as well. I love him as a Göztepe boy. He's an Izmirli. He's a real Göztepe player, and I love his thing at Göztepe. But I don't believe he's milli takım level, national team level.
Yeah, but we don't have a lot of wingers though.
You could have taken Deniz Türüç, that player, like who is an utility player, also a great set piece taker.
Yeah, but he's not gonna take set pieces at the national team. Let's be honest. Like you can say that, but it's not a plus for him because he's not gonna get to take them anyway. So like you have
even corners. You
have Hakan Çalhanoğlu is gonna be taking them, and if he's not taking them, Yusuf could be taking them, and like you have other players that's gonna take them before him. There's a pecking order. Like
if Burak really goes for a free kick, I'm probably going to punch my screen.
And then he scores it.
I like him.
And he will score, and you'll be like, oh my god, I can't believe he scored.
Yeah, fucking hell, I'm already seeing it.
The thing with Halil Akbunar is it's more like a counter-attacker. Like not a big team player.
But we could use that against, for example, the opening match day against Italy. Like, maybe we'll need someone like Halil Akbunar. Like, I don't oppose to that. Like, if you look at his stats as well this season, I think he has like 9 goals and 13 assists or something.
And also about Deniz Türüç, also is capable of playing as a left back in the like tight situations when you need a great crosser from behind.
Yeah, I mean, I love Denis Turic. I'm a big fan, and I agree if you want to go with the utility guys, but I don't agree with picking him over Halil. I think Halil deserved this call-up. I mean, you can make... I mean, I don't know if he's not Milli Takım level, because I could see him go to Trabzonspor or Galatasaray next season and have a really good season. Like, if Emre Kılınç can, why can't Halil Akbunar? Like, Halil has been as consistent at that level as Emre
Halil
was
is consistent,
prior.
but I don't think Halil's a great creative player in tight situations. Like he's more of a endurance player. Like
Yeah, but Turkey aren't going to be the dominating side if they get out of the groups. Like, they're not gonna necessarily be the team that has the ball.
In this case, like what I'm trying to say is like compare Halil Akbunar with Cengiz Ünder and how Cengiz Ünder is capable of with his passing ability, vision, and his great long shot ability. Like is a real threat.
But Halil also has
Akbunar
that. Huh? He also has a good long shot.
No.
Halil, Halil has a good shot.
No, he just takes it occasionally, and like he delivers it in occasion, not the consistent long shot taker like Cengiz Ünder.
All right. Well, we spoke a lot about the national team now, and there's still a lot to talk about. We're gonna have to do that in a second episode, though, like because we've been going for quite a while already, and there's still a lot to talk about. For example, the relegation and the promotion. But the promotion...
We didn't talk about Galatasaray yet.
No, but we still have plenty to talk about, and and Jakub has to go actually. So we'll stop here, but we'll do a second episode. We'll record it somewhere this week, and tomorrow actually the finals of the playoff promotional, not the finals, but like the semifinals of the promotional playoffs are being played. So Samsunspor.
We have to talk about Mustafa Denizli.
Yeah. So Samsunspor are actually taking on Altinorde. Altinorde won the first match, and Samsunspor actually missed a penalty in added time. Altinorde won 1-0, and then Altay beat Istanbulspor 3-2 in the first match. So tomorrow, those are the returns. On Saturday, the returns for those are on, and then of course next week we'll get the final between either any of these four teams against each other, and that will decide the final promotion. Of course, Adana Demirspor and Giresun promoted already to the Turkish League, but to the Turkish Super League. But we'll do a second episode, and we'll go in depth about who relegated, who promoted. We'll talk about all that. We'll still recap Galatasaray's season, and we'll probably talk a little bit more about Beşiktaş, and especially we'll shit some more on Fenerbahçe. But we'll have to keep it for next week.
And people don't forget to follow up Burak Yılmaz's championship run on Sunday.
Yeah. Lille, if they win away against Angers, they will be the Ligue 1 champion, and then we will have 3 champions more in the national team, and hopefully it will give them a boost for the Euros. And you know what, we'll talk about all that, the relegation and all that, and of course we'll recap whether Lille managed to pull it off or not, and we'll also talk a little bit more about the Euros.
Çalhanoğlu's FA Cup win.
Yeah, there's so much to talk about. Write it all down. Okay, that'll do for this episode. We'll do a second episode, part 2 of the recap, and that'll be next week. But thank you very much for listening to this episode of Football Turca, and we'll be back next week. I promise this time. I promise we'll be next with a second episode. Back with a second episode next week. Jakub, thank you very much, and sorry for keeping you this long.
Nah, thank you for having me. It was really fun to do this again. It has been a while.
Yeah, it's been way too long. And Umut, thank you very much too, man. And see you next week.
See you.
Yeah, and see you next week, hopefully for the second part of the season recap. Bye-bye.
Bye.